Well, hello there. It has been a while. It is at least 170 days since I last uploaded a video to this channel. So if you're here watching, thank you very much and welcome. My name is Esther. I used to be the Danish stitcher, and a little more than a year ago I changed my name into Speedy CrossStitcher or Speedy X Stitcher, and I still have that name. I also have another Flosstube because I decided that I would prefer I spent way too much time making Flosstube in English as well as German, and I got a bit tired of spending so much time on it. It was very time consuming. So I decided that I would like to try making a Flosstube in Danish, because Danes don't make Flosstubes. A lot of Danes stitch actually, but they don't make Flosstubes. So anyway, I decided to make this Flosstube, or this is not a regular Flosstube, this is a mid-year whip parade. I decided to do it in English. Probably because I'm on summer holiday at the moment and have got the time. So I have 75 whips. I will show them chronologically, almost all of them. Sometimes I have 2 or 3 or 4 projects in the same bag, and they might not have the same number, but I have numbered them all. I have them, the first 30 lined up here, and I'm going to take a break. That means I'll just pause my video when I'm going to change, because as you can see, the rest are over there. So as you can see, I don't have less whips than when you saw my videos the last time. So the first one, I actually did stitch a bit on this. This is my not so loved project. This is the only stamped thing I got. I think I started it back in 2008, and it looks like this. It's from, what do you call it, CeWe? I really don't I really don't miss much. I mean, I still need to put in some green here, some brown here, a little brown here, and some brown here, and then it's actually done. But it's so boring. But I still like the motive, so I will not UFO it, at least not yet. So where should I put all the wall? Never mind, I'll put them on the floor. Number 2. I have not stitched on this one. I started it on March the 23rd in 2020. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to UFO it, because I have not stitched on it for several years. It's the pattern that got me back into stitching during the COVID. It's Chris Norman, still one of my favorite singers, but I haven't been stitching on it. I mean, it's even in Pattern Keeper, but and it's not that I miss much, but I just don't feel like stitching it. So, but for now, I keep it in the bag, and I keep it in my, what do you call it? I'm so used to doing Flosstube in Danish now that I forget some of the words in English. Sorry about that. Jesus Christ. Really? I forgot the word. I'm going to put it down here. This is really quite embarrassing, but it's Kreuzstich in Danish, and I have absolutely no idea at the moment what it's called in English. Well, number 3. I started on July the 22nd, also in 2020, and I haven't been stitching on it for quite some time. It's Blackwork with cats. Oh yeah, and the Chris Norman is on 14 count white Aida, and I made the pattern. This one is from Peppermint Purple. It's on, I think, 28 count even weave opalescent. And as you can see, I did the cross stitching, and I just can't pull myself together to do all the back stitching. So what I'm actually thinking about is that I might frog this and then just have the cat. What do you think about that? Should I do that in order to get it done? Because I'm never going to make all that back stitching. But as you can see, it's quite difficult to frog, I think. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I should do something like, if you remember the one, sometimes I just don't finish that one. If I can find a picture, I can put it up. So maybe I should put some words in here and then just leave it. That might be a good idea. So this is actually, it turns out to be a very good idea of me to do my whip parade in English, because suddenly I get a lot of ideas what I can do with some of the projects that I don't want to finish. Number 4. No, this number. In this one I have number 4 and number 6. So number 4 is Victoria Street and number 6 is Rose Street. The Victoria Street I began on January the 11th in 2021, and Rose Street I began on January 17th in 2021. I'm doing them on black Aida 16 count, and it's from Galliana CrossStitch. So this is Victoria Street. I still need to stitch all the borders. And this I'm stitching with variegated DMC 4060. And I'm actually stitching it the wrong way, because back then I did not know that you had to finish each stitch instead of doing a row, the Danish method. So when I pick this up again, I will do it the same way as I stitched the rest of it. I have become more happy, if you can call it that, with stitching on dark fabric. I have bought a LED, a little screen to put onto my lap, and it helps a lot. So this was number 4. Number 6 is Rose Street, and I haven't stitched on these either this year. And it looks like this, and it's also with a DMC variegated one. This is 4230. Looks like this. I think the light is a bit. Hope you can live with it. So that were number 4 and number 6. Now let's go to number 5. I haven't stitched on number 5 either. It will be like this, that the older the whip is, the less is the chance that I have been stitching on it this year. This is my first purchased height. It's called Quarantine Cats, and I'm doing it on 18 count easy count. And as you probably have guessed, I have not stitched on it this year, but it looks like this. I still like it a lot. It's just that I have so many other patterns that I like even more. So, but I keep telling myself, yeah, I will go back to them, my old whips, and then I will stitch on them. But you know what? I actually do that on some of my older whips, and some of them are now pretty close to a finish. So it just takes some time. And the quarantine cat I started on January 16, 2021. Number 7, that's from Emma Congdon. It's called Snowfall. This is one of my older whips that I'm actually working on now, because I picked this for my Christmas in July. I started it on January the 29th, 2021. And it looks like this. It was in a CrossStitch magazine. And a couple of months ago, I figured out the feature called onion skin in my program WinStitch, which means that this pattern is, my version of this pattern is now a fully compatible pattern keeper pattern. I have spent quite a lot of time converting PDF pictures into pattern keeper compatible patterns, and now I like to stitch in it again. I have mentioned it before that I really dislike stitching without pattern keeper, and I haven't been stitching anything that is not in pattern keeper for at least a year. But a lot of my patterns were in pattern keeper where you could not search the symbols. So then I found out this feature, onion skin, which means that a lot of my old patterns are now as if they were made for pattern keeper. And it doesn't take that long. I have also converted Tiny Modernists. She has these winter sampler, summer sampler. They have about 10,000 stitches in them, and it takes me about 2 hours to convert everything. So it's okay. So this is, as I said, one of my Christmas in July projects. I should work on it for one day, and I did that. It's on, I think 16 count. Let me see. Yeah, 16 count Misty Morning. It's a printed fabric. So I have an idea that I might finish this year. Let's see. We are now at number 8. Getting closer to 75, but not very fast. This is my star pillow, which I have not been stitching on this year. It's on 14 or 16 count Ada. I think it's 16 count, and I stitch it with oxide, the silks from Miss Usida's, and it looks like this. I think one of the reasons I'm not stitching on it is that this used to be my car stitching, but then Carsten and I split, and now I'm driving the car all the time, so there's no way I can be stitching at the same time while driving. So maybe it's 14 count. No, I think it's 16 count. But this is not a project that I'm in a hurry to finish. But maybe I should put it on top of my basket so that if I feel like stitching but I'm too tired to stitch after a pattern, this one I can stitch without a pattern. Number 9. Oh yeah, and this star pillow I began on February the 6th, 2021. On March the 29th, 2021, I began stitching on this Tutankhamon. It's from Permin. I have restarted it, but it's quite a while ago. I began it on 18 count black, and that was way too difficult back then. You can see it here. I still got it here. It's not that I got a whole lot of stitching done back then compared to now. I actually did stitch on this year. I am planning on converting this pattern into a fully compatible pattern keeper pattern as well, because otherwise I don't think I will finish it, because as you can see, it's a lot of confetti, and confetti, pattern keeper is your helper. So I switched it to 16 count black Aida or Ada. Number 10, I began on April the 24th, 2021. It's a SodaStitch. It's called Sewing Cats. And this one I actually bought again. I used to just have the paper pattern, and I managed to put it into Pattern Keeper, but again with no searchable symbols. And then she had a sale, and then I bought it Pattern Keeper compatible, which means I have actually been stitching on it this year. It's very heavy with the back stitching, but I like it a lot. So if you used to watch my channel here in English, you would notice that back then I had only stitched this white cat on the top, so the rest of it is new. And I don't know why it looks like I have a fog in here. It's kind of misty in here. It's not, but it is quite warm outside, so maybe that's the reason. I don't know. I did clean the lenses of the... Oh, I forgot. It's on 18 count Aida. And I did say it was SodaStitch. The next one I have not been stitching on. It's Shannen Christine. It's Winter Snowfall on 14 count oatmeal. It still looks like this. So it's fully compatible with Pattern Keeper. I think I made a mistake and I have to frog. I'm not very good at pulling myself together and frog. The next one I also plan to put in to Vinstitch and make a fully compatible pattern. I don't miss much of it. It looks like this, but I'm only going to make this, I mean, with these waves here, and that's it, and the text. It's on 14 count white Ada, and it looks like this. And I might be so... Nah, I think I have to do the waves below as well, and then I'm going to make it into a long pillow. So this one I will probably start stitching as soon as I have got it into Pattern Keeper as a fully compatible pattern. And now I'm done with the first row. The next one, it's, let's see, Happy Halloween. I started this one. I forgot to say the other one. I started on May the 9th of May 2021, and this one I started the 11th of May. It was part of my Halloween stitch mania I did that year. This one is almost done because I'm only going to, not almost, but let me show you what I mean. It's actually quite big, as you can see, but I'm only going to do Happy Halloween. So, and I did finish the Happy. Well, still need the back stitching, but I think I stitched 20 stitches on the bat or something like that. Or maybe I did some back stitching. I don't remember. It's on 14 count pale lilac Ada. And it's from Lindner's Kreuzstich. Kreuzstich. Number 14. I have not stitched on this year, but I think I have made, yeah, I did make it fully compatible with Pattern Keeper now. This is Halloween, I'm Stitching by Jardin Privé. And it looks like this. So these where I do have the paper patterns, I'm going to show them here so I don't need to spend time finding a picture to put up. So this is also one of my older ones. I started this on May 21st, 2021. That means 3 years ago. Now I will probably soon begin stitching on it again. Right now I'm doing my Christmas in July and my obsession, which I'm going to show you when I reach whip number 75, because that's my obsession. So this is how far I got. Not very far. It's on 25 count even weave called Mushroom. And I use the call for, except for this one, that's the screen one. It's Mesocedar Silk number 16. This is really annoying. It looks a bit blurry. I hope you can live with it. The next one, that's one of my older whips that I try to finish this year. It's Hello Sunshine from Caterpillar CrossStitch. I began it on May the 28th, 2021. This one I am not making Pattern Keeper compatible because I only got about 1,000 stitches left. So it's not worth it to make it Pattern Keeper compatible. This is on 16 count Ada called Amethyst Cloud. And as you can see, I did quite a lot of it on it now. I did all the big things and I only... Just a moment. I'm back and I brought this so it's easier for me to show my stitching. And also, as you can see, I actually managed to get my lens even cleaner than before. So back to Hello Sunshine. This is way easier. As you can see, I did all the bigger motifs and I just need to fill it out with all the smaller ones and then it's done. My plan is that it needs to be done before the new year, so it will be ready for next year. I have stitched the winter one, Hello Dear, as well as the spring one. What's that called? I forgot. And I also started on the autumn one, but you will see that later. Okay, the next one, number 16. I began on June 25th, 2021. It's by what's her name? Madame Chantilly. This bag has a lot of floss and fabric in it because I put in all the patterns for all these owls. I haven't started the other ones because I'm going to make them Pattern Keeper compatible as well. I did that with the Halloween owl. I have actually stitched on it this year. Not much, but a little bit. But now where it's Pattern Keeper compatible, I think that I will start stitching on it again. But since it's Halloween, I'm not stitching that much Halloween at the moment, except for one thing, I think. So this was Halloween Owls by Madame Chantilly. And let's see. I'm just grabbing. The next one is Christmas Village. This I chose, or I picked it for my Christmas in July. I had to stitch on it for 1 day. And when I say 1 day, it means anything from 1 stitch till 1,000, 2,000 stitches. This one, I have to stop stitching on it because the arthritis in my right hand is getting worse, which means that it's very, very hard for me to stitch on plastic canvas. So I have decided that I was planning on doing all these little houses. I have given up on that now unless I decide to stitch them on fabric. That might be a solution because I really like them. But as you can see, I don't need much more and then it's done. And I think I'm just going to finish this as it is. Of course I have to finish it, but then I will call it quits and say, well, I'm going to turn it into an ornament. So I'm going to put some felt on the back side and that's it. So I have a lot of plastic canvas and I think I'm going to see if I can sell it because I can't stitch on it. It hurts too much. This really sucks that I'm getting that many problems now with the arthritis. Luckily, I hope it stays that way. I can still stitch up to 2,000 stitches a day if I have got the time for it. So, probably because I'm left-handed. And I have the problems in my right hand. That means it's also slowly beginning to hurt here. So let's see. I have to stitch as much as I can. For how long I will be able to stitch that much. Okay. Number 18, I began on December 26, 2021. It's also called Something Wick This Way Comes, but this one is from Autumn Lane Stitchery. This one I will also put through onion skin. I haven't done it yet, but I have stitched on it on this year. So I have stitched the castle or the house or whatever you call it, or at least some of it. And this is on 16 count Ada, hand dyed by me, and it looks like this. Yeah, why don't I use this now? I picked it up. So as you can see, it's gray with a little green and a little bit of pink in it. Very, very little pink. Yeah. On the last day in the year 2021, I began stitching on my Witcher. I have not stitched on him this year. By the way, in this one there are two whips. Number 19, which is the Witcher, which I'm going to show you first. So I might not have stitched on it this year, but I think I stitched on it since you saw it the last time. It looks like this. I'm still trying to fill out everything here, all the confetti, before I'm allowed to do the other side. I know I will finish it eventually, but I must also admit that because Cavill is not the Witcher anymore, and I've never seen this third season, it's a bit harder to start stitching it. Luckily, that's not the case with number 31, which is my Witcher quotes. I began that one on July 19th, 2022. This I have actually stitched quite a lot on this year. So let's see. Maybe I should. It's pretty huge, as you can see. But I did stitch quite a lot on it. I think I stitched from up here. So I stitched all this. So eventually it's getting there. It's pretty huge. Talking about huge projects, I have finished. In case you follow me on Instagram, you will know it already. But I actually managed to finish my Buffy Sampler. And if I turn like this, you can see it over there. I can put in a photo now, so you can see it. I love it so much. I'm so happy with the way it turned out. It was nerve-wracking to frame it, but I succeeded. Oh yeah, and by the way, someone tried to steal my work. I put it up in the Buffy group on Facebook, and 20 minutes later, someone, yeah, maybe I could show it to you. Someone said, or wrote, you can get it here. It was screen dump of my mug-up, and it looked like this. It's not good. I'll put it up here so you can see. I got so mad. That is stealing my work. I did all that drawing and making it into cross-stitch, and then I took a closer look, and no problem. Because if you look closer, and I will make it bigger here now so you can see that. First of all, the top line in every generation that's a chosen one is missing. And the quotes in the sides, they miss some of the quote. So, now I'm just, if you really think maybe people will buy it, and I'm sorry if you buy that one, I did put up a disclaimer on my Instagram as well as in the Buffy group, saying, and all the other groups where I shared the photo of my finished sampler, that I did not put it up for sale anywhere, so that it was a scam if they found some that and that I hope that no one would actually go and buy it, because they would be very, very disappointed. So let's go back to my whip parade, because we are only at number 20. This is going to be a very, very long one, but of course you can take a break and then come back and watch more later. I will not make it into more parts, because I think it's up to you whether you just want to hear me babbling while you're stitching or knitting or whatever you're doing. So that's up to you. So the next one, as I said, was number 20. This is also by Galliana CrossStitch. This is also for my Christmas in July. I should stitch on it, let me see, for one day, I think. No? Yeah, one day. And I did. I didn't stitch that much on it, but I finished this one. And let me put it onto this one so you can actually see it. I'm stitching it with Mrs. Cedar's silk called Copper. And this is how far I am. So maybe next Christmas it will be done. And it's an 18 count light blue Ada. And this one I began on January the 1st, 2022. The next one, this contains number 21, 23 and 24. This is the only project bag I made myself so far. It's not that I don't have the fabric, it's just I don't have the time to do it. So let's see, this one, the first one is with an Easter egg with a crocus. It's an 18 count green Ada. The crocus is actually finished, as well as the daffodil, which is number 23. I began them in this one on March the 12th, 2022. And this one, sunflower egg, I began on March the 14th. And I think I made a mistake and I have to frog. And you know what that means? It means that it will take a very long time before I start stitching on it. And also, these patterns are not Pattern Keeper compatible. That means it's not searchable. The symbols are not searchable, but otherwise it is in Pattern Keeper. It's a bit hot here. This is number 22. This is my video game sampler, and I have stitched on it this year. Not much, but a little bit. This is on printed fabric, 16 count, and it's called Café au lait. I have begun stitching this, and it looks like this. And I stitched it with Mrs. Cedar silk, and it's named after that movie. You know, with the blue people. What is it called? Something with A, I think. I'll put the name down. Yeah. And I began this one on February 11th in 2022. Number 24 is my spike portrait. No, sorry, number 25. I began it on April 26, 2022. This is the first time I'm trying not to stitch all the fun stuff first. That means the blocks. But I actually also stitched some confetti. I'm not very far yet, but I did stitch on it this year. So every time I start stitching on it, I start doing one thread on his hair. And after that I can move to the sides and do some block stitching. And it's on 18 count, easy count. So that were the first 2 pages. I still got 1, 2, 3, 4 pages and 1 line on the next page. So on May 27th, 2022, I began En Retard by Madame Chantilly. And this one has been through my onion skin. Not mine, the program's onion skin. And this is actually one of my Christmas in July projects. I should stitch on it one day, which I haven't done yet. But we are only, on the 10th of July, so I still got time. And it looks like this. A couple of years ago, I made the Halloween town. And my beginning of that was just as slow as this one, and then all of a sudden I couldn't stitch on anything else, and 1, 2, 3 it was done. I hope it will be the same with this one. Yeah, and it's on 16 count Aida something, and a misty blue, I think it's called. It's a Zweigart fabric. Or smoky blue or something like that. The next one, I have not stitched on this one for 2 years. It's the Buffy Sampler by Stitched Up by Lauren. I think one of the reasons is that I picked the wrong fabric. This silver lurex is actually quite annoying to stitch on if you have to stitch too much. And also there's a lot of back stitching. So I'm still here. Oops. It turns out all right. I just didn't feel like stitching on it. Eventually I will finish it, because after all it is Buffy, right? So it's an 18 count silver lurex, and I dyed the fabric. It looks like this. So that was number 27. A little more than 1/3 to all the whips. The next one I have not been stitching on for a very long time, because I have made a mistake. This is Keep Calm and Listen to the Beatles. The mistake I made was that, as you can see, the B should start here. I began the B here. I think I actually started with the A, and then all of a sudden I started stitching after the pattern for B. So I had to frog a lot. If I can find a picture, I will show you how much I actually had to frog. But Now it's okay. As you can see, in order to not make the same mistakes, I have started doing the top of most of the letters, because this B is actually going up here. So this is also stitched with silks from Misusitas. This silk is called Pride, and I guess you can see that on the colors. And the fabric is called Musical Notes, and it's 18 count. And it's also opalescent. Yeah. And that Beatles was whip number 28. The next one, my whip number 29, I think I'm going to UFO it. It's called Keep Calm and Stay Inside the Soul Circle. It's from Supernatural. It's an opalescent. There are a lot of needles in it, this one. 18 count, which I dyed. And as you can see, I did not stitch much. And I began this one on June 30th, 2022. That means for 2 years I have not been stitching on it. I usually forget that I have it. And the same thing happened today when I found all my whips and making them ready. I said, oh yeah, I forgot this one. So I think I might just frog this, or if I'm lazy, I'll just cut it out and throw it out. But the fabric looks like this, and I think I can find another nice project to put on that fabric. Talking about fabric, I haven't been dyeing fabric for quite a long time, but actually I do plan to dye fabric in this summer holiday. So let's see if I get that, because first of all I have to cut it up and sew all the sides first, all the edges. So that was number 29. Number 30, this is a hate. Here Comes Santa Claus. It's a part of my Christmas in July, and I should stitch on it for at least 2 days. I actually only stitched on it for 1 day, but since I stitched, I think about 1100 stitches, I had decided that if I managed to stitch more than 1,000 on one of my 2-day projects, that would count for 2 days. And I did. And I did quite nice progress. As you can see, I'm not doing the border. I find it very ugly. What I did was all this. I had just done the top of the chimney, and then I did all this. Yeah, and it's an 18 count. Easy count. So. And my number 31, that was the Witcher quotes. And then we have this next one, has 3 numbers in it. It's number 32, 52, and 53. It's Buffy related. The first one is Giles, but I think I'm going to show you all 3 of them at the same time. I really did not stitch much on it, but this is Giles. I think this is Willow or Xander, and this is Willow or Xander. I don't remember. I stitched it on, this is 20 count Ada, hand dyed by me, and it's opalescent, and I stitched it with one thread of sulky, and they are all 3 stitched in sulky. I'm using sulky 11.99 and 12.99 and 10.05. And they are in this bag that the dear Stitchelonka made for me when I met her in Hamburg 2 years ago. It's already 2 years ago. Yeah, time flies by. This Giles I began on August the 16th, 2022. That's my birthday, by the way. I began Sander and Willow on October the 27th, 2023. So the next one I began January the 8th, 2023. It's one of my quilt patterns. And this time I'm doing it with green colors. And I have not been stitching on it for quite some time. And it looks like this. And it's on, 14 count Ada. And as you can see, I have a lot of green colors, and most of these colors are my old colors where I did not keep the number. So I had absolutely no idea knowing which number is this. So these flosses are very good for projects like this. Okay. Now I'm close to 1 hour. And I have reached whip number 33. And now I'm going to take a break because I'm done with all the whips on my table, and I'll be right back. Okay, let's move on to the second part. So the first one is number 34. I did stitch on this year. I began it on March 13, 2023. So as you can hear now, we have moved into the whips from last year and this year. And most of them I have, well, not the first one, but when we move a little further, I have been stitching on most of them. So this is the Witch's Stitches, and it's the Stephen King house. And I have been stitching on it this year. I have been stitching on the car, Christine, and the stairways. And it's on 18 count, I think. And I dyed it, the fabric. Most of my fabrics now are fabrics I dyed. I still love this project, but as I said before, I just have so many projects that I love. And then, well, you can only stitch on one project at a time, right? So, I have the house here, so I don't need to show it to you. I don't need to find a picture. So the next 3 ones, 35, 36, 37, I have not been stitching on this year. So the first one is Halloween Cat, which I started on May 5th, 2023. It's on Opalescent Ada, hand dyed by me, and it looks like this. So no progress here. It's not that I don't know why I don't stitch on it. I just don't, because I like it, and I think I found the perfect fabric for it, because there's also purple in the fabric, and I really like the color of purple. But as I just said, I have been stitching on it this year. The same can be said about number 36, Cat Musical Notes. It's on 20. Just a moment. stitched on 32 even weave, and I don't like stitching on 32 even weave. 32 count even weave, and it's also opalescent, which is probably why I'm not getting anywhere, because I have to count and count and count and count. I'm so used to stitching on Ada, where it's very easy because you don't have to count. I mean here I stitch 2 over 2, and I stitch with Mrs. black silk. Eventually I will get it done. I really don't know why I dislike stitching on 32 count. I just do. And I have so much 32 count even weave that I dyed. That's really annoying. And I began this one on May the 14th, 2023. The next one I began on June the 6th, 2023. It's the Vampire Slayer kit by Night Stitch Studio, I think it's called. I bought it to support the designer because she's ill. I like it. This is actually stitched on Ada. I bought red. I tried to put something black on it. I did not succeed. Yeah, it's not. It has very, very, yeah, you might be able to see it, a little darker spots, but I'm sorry about the noise. That's Felix. He has a box on the floor. There's a lot of backstitching in it. Ow! What are you doing? Which is probably why I don't bring it up to stitch that very often. On June the 18th, 2023, I began a mini of Iceland. I'm stitching this on, I think it's Hardanger. Yeah, it's called Sulta. It should be 22 count. And I'm actually trying to stitch it 1 over 1. And it looks like this. But if you, I still have not figured out how to stitch 1-on-1 on even weave or similar woven fabric. So as you can see, I stitch every second one and then I go back, because then I do not lose my thread, because otherwise the thread will disappear. It kept disappearing and I was so angry with it, because why did it disappear all the time? This way I can actually manage to stitch it. As you can see, this is the Aurora Borealis. I have not stitched much on it. One more which I haven't stitched on for quite some time, and then we move into those where I have stitched on most of them. The next one is Denmark. I have not stitched on it. It's on vintage marble, 18 count, and it looks like this. And I do remember that I picked the wrong orange color, but I'm leaving it. I'm not going to frog all that. No way, because this, as you can see, they're very tiny, the stitches. It's stitched on 18 count with 2 threads over 1. I'm not going to pick that up. This one was number 38. On August the 10th, 2023, I began another witchy stitcher. As you can see up here, up there. I got the Leshy and hot, what's it? Baba Yaga. And now I'm doing the Kikimora. And it's like those two, it's on 16 count Ada dirty. And I did quite a lot on this one. A lot of black. I hope I can finish it this year. But I have so many projects that I want to stitch, and it's really awful. And I think that's one of the reasons why my numbers of projects had been around 60, 65 for 1 or 2 years. And then all of a sudden, in the last month, I just kept starting new things. Probably because I put a lot of patterns through this onion skin. And then I just had to start them. So Kikimora was number 40, which means that now at least we are more than halfway. The next one is called Christmas Chaos. It's part of my Christmas in July. I should stitch on it for 1 day, and I did. And I'm stitching it with silks for you. Red and it fell off. A red and a green and a yellow, and I also use some Mrs. Cedar silks, these ones, and then black and white as well. It's on a 16 count L something, I forgot. It's by Chromatic Alchemy. And I did this. Recently I stitched the 2 black cats. This fabric doesn't look that very nice. I have been stitching that Snow Moon from a Witchy Stitcher on it, as well as one more. It's been a long time ago. I don't remember anymore. Ah yeah, Mama Witch X Stitch, that little cat ghost, was also stitched on this fabric. So that was number 41. Number 42, I have stitched on it this year, but I think I only did a little cross. So I really didn't do much. It's my autumn puzzle. And it looks like this. And I'm going to put it into, I have a frame with 3 frames within it. And I'm going to put it in one of these frames. And my plan is to make patterns like this with winter colors. Winter colors, in my opinion, colors that I find are winter colors. That does not mean that everyone else would agree with me. And I will do one with spring colors as well as sun colors, but this is autumn colors. But this one I began on September the 2nd, 2023, and now I'm going to do something about that hair. Just a moment. So I hope it's easier now for me. On the 9th of September 2023, I had started listening to Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, and I fell in love with that audiobook, and I had to make a pattern. I have been stitching on it this year, but not that much. It's on 18 count Ada, hand dyed by me. If I should redo it, which I'm not, I would have chosen other colors because they do not pop on this fabric except for the black. So when I'm done stitching, I might put in some back stitching, even though it actually doesn't have any back stitching. But I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I think I did not think, because I was just so anxious to get started. So I just picked the first fabric. I thought, the book is yellow, I'll pick some yellow fabric. The next one I have not been stitching on this year, but it's also a Halloween pattern. So I began it on October the 4th last year. It's Vintage Pumpkin Carriage by the Witchy Stitcher. And it's a sick looking greenish color. And I love this fabric, the color of it. And yeah, I did hand dye it myself. I did want a fabric that looked a bit sick. And I think I succeeded. And I think the only reason why I'm not stitching on this one at the moment is because it's Halloween. And I'm stitching Christmas at the moment. Almost Christmas. Except for my obsession. On the 20th of October, I began Sweet Christmas by Madame Witch Egg Stitch. This is also a part of my Christmas in July. So I should stitch on it for one day, and I did. I almost finished the house now. I have actually moved on to some of the trees. And yes, I have a matching needle minder. And the fabric is 16 count hand dyed by me. I think that's a fabric that I called my winter colors or something. It's not that I give my fabric names, but that special batch, all the colors were grayish, bluish, that kind of greenish. So I think that's why I call them winter colors. So this was number 45. On October 29, I began Trouble Driving a Stick. So Trouble Driving a Stick, it looks like this. It's on 14 count Aida. I think this is actually one of the first pieces of colored fabric I bought from abroad. I bought it from Etsy. The piece was not that big, as you can see. And the color was called Aqua. And I paid a lot of money for it. That was before I dyed fabric myself. I like the way it looks. And I'm just stitching 2 over 1 here. So this was number 45 was Sweet Christmas. 46 is How to Survive a Horror Movie by the Witchy Stitcher. This is also on fabric. It's 18 count, and this one I dyed with acid dye, and it looks like this. And I tried to do kind of speckles, I think you call it, and I think it works very well. But of course I have not done any of all the back stitching. There's a lot of it that's just back stitching, so we will see. I did stitch on this year, but not very much. The same can be said about the next one. That's Paul McCartney, number 47. I began that on October the 22nd. It's on 20 count and I'm stitching it with DMC 1 thread. And it looks like this. Already now you can see that it's actually Paul McCartney. I do have the patterns of the other 3 members of Beatles and I might do them also, but it takes a long time. So, and since Paul is my favorite Beatle, of course I started with him. And these are the colors. As you can see, a lot of gray, greenish, but mostly gray and blue-gray. All this color around is the blue, so I did stitch all the dark blue, but as you can see in his face, I did start here, but it takes a long time. On October the 22nd, I also started on number 48, which is a SodaStitch called Witch's Shoe. I have also stitched on it this year, and it looks like this. It's on 16 count, I'm getting tired, 16 count Ada called Dirty. And I like it a lot. On October the 26th, I began Halloween. No, number 49. Let's do it right. It's called Polar Night Sighting. It's on 14 count Ada. This is also part of my Christmas in July, and I plan to finish it because, as you can see, I'm pretty close. But up here, all these white rooms I need to bead, to put in beads. So, but as you can see, I need to stitch something here and up here and here, and then the beading, and then it's done. So it's doable. It's from either CrossStitch magazine or just CrossStitch magazine, because they're almost the only 2 that I stitch patterns from. Yeah, and sometimes the German one, but I really like it, and I think I'm going to finish it as a round ornament. Not to put on the Christmas tree, I think it's too big, but with a ribbon here, and then I can put it up on the wall. And it's on 14 count light blue Ada. So that was number 49. Number 50 is that winter sampler I talked about before from Tiny Modernist. By the way, Tiny Modernist, I have joined her Patreon. And I don't know how long I'm going to stay there, but so far I got 3 patterns, I think, because her patterns stay there for 2 months. So you can always get the pattern from the month where you join and from the month before. But this one is from CrossStitch magazine. It's the winter sampler. And this is also part of my Christmas in July. And I have to stitch on it for 2 days, and I have only stitched on it 1 day so far, actually this morning. And I almost finished this first one. And that's very nice because it has really taken a long time. And as I said, this one is from CrossStitch magazine. and it has taken me 2 hours to put it through the onion skin. And it's on 16 count Ada called Linen Look. I do have the patterns of all 4 seasons. I have put summer into, I have made summer, the summer pattern keeper compatible, and I still need to do it with spring as well as autumn, but I actually think I'm going to do all 4 of them eventually, because they're nice to stitch. So this was number 50. Now we come to 51, which is another SodaStitch, and I began that on October 26th. And I do know that I forgot to tell you when I started the other ones, but let's just say I also started them in October. October last year, I started so many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, on which I'm still working. But I do remember that I also had some new starts that I already finished. So I would guess that I started at about 20 or so. So this is CeWe, and I did stitch on it this year, but I only stitched that cat, so it's not that much. It's an 18 count oatmeal, I think it's called. Okay, the next bag. As you can see, it holds a lot of patterns. Number 54, 55, 57, 64. So the winter sampler was 50 and CeWe was 51. Then we had Sander and Willow, that's 52 and 53. And now 54, it's by Noctiflora Designs, and it's called Weeping Helligore. And I'm stitching that on 16 count purple, purple white fabric, which I dyed, and it looks like this. I do like stitching on it, and I think it looks absolutely amazing, but it's quite, it's not confetti, but I do think that I have to change the thread very often, the color very often, which is why I have to be in a special mood before I pick it up to stitch on it. But that's also kind of Halloweeny, so I do not stitch on it at the moment, but I did stitch on it this year. Number 55 is Halloween Witch by SodaStitch. I also stitched on it this year. This is just on plain easy count, I think 18 count, and it looks like this. As you probably noticed, I do like Halloween, and I do like the color purple in all its hues. So I'm going to take the other in this, because then I did it. The next one is called number 57, because 56 was that trouble driving a stick. It's called Merry Catmas. I think that is part of my Christmas in July, and I should stitch on it. Must stitch on it for one day, and I haven't stitched on it yet. And it looks like this. It's on a piece of scrap fabric. It's 18 count opalescent. And now you see an FO as well. Let me see, the last one in that one is called Halloween Jar number 2. It's number 64. Because I did finish the first Halloween jar, and this is also by SodaStitch. But since I'm stitching them next to each other, so I'm going to put them in one picture. What did I want to say? Anyway, it's on 14 count Ada, hand dyed by me. I really love these jars. I think they're absolutely beautiful. And they're not difficult to stitch. That's the back stitching it's not complicated, but it does take a lot of counting to be alright. You can see, for example, the spider web here. But I really love them. I think they're so cute. So that was these 4. The next one is my last hate. It's a stocking called Santa Claus. They are so funny. It's on 18 count Ada, light blue Ada. It's part of my Christmas in July, and I have stitched on it. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen it very recently, because I think it's just 3 or 4 days ago since I last stitched on it. But this was started on December the 26th, and this is my whip number 58. And I think it's so cute. I decided, actually you should stitch all the white stocking. I decided against that and decided no. I will just stitch the motif itself and then figure out how to make a stocking afterwards, the shape of a stocking afterwards. I think I'll draw it onto some paper and then, yeah. But as you can see, I'm really not there yet. So 2, 3, 4 years. I have never finished a hate, so. The next one is my temperature houses, number 59. This is the 3rd year I'm doing the temperature houses, and I must admit I'm a bit tired of it. So I haven't stitched on it since March. If I will finish it this year, I don't know. I did, however, change the pattern. I made my own pattern. So my houses are half the size of how they used to be. And it's an 18 count. The first one I made this temperature was the temperature tree by Stitchy Mommy. I did that on 14 count Ada. Then I switched to 16 count to do the houses by Jardin Privé, a free pattern. And then I decided that I was going to make my own houses, which I did. And this is an 18 count. As you can see, the houses are tiny. And they are small houses, big houses, a small house, a big house. So I had some variation. And as you can see, I'm just doing the roofs of March. And all the white means that we had snow. So actually we did have a pretty cold winter this January, which was, by the way, very nice, because I don't like it when we have 10 degrees Celsius in January, because that just feels wrong. But it's, as I said, on 18 count Ada, hand dyed by me. Opalescent Ada. My plan is, when July is over, to sit down, figure out, you see, I put all the temperature in. I haven't put the temperature since April. So that's the first thing I should do, to get the temperatures up to date and then figure out which color and then put in the colors of the next month so I can just stitch. So that was number 59. We are getting there. 1.5 hours now almost, I think. The next one is not cross stitch. I decided I wanted to try embroidery. And this just shows you how little I know about embroidery, because I decided to do embroidery on 25 count. And it looks like this. I am going to finish it eventually. I don't like it, but I will finish it and say, okay, so that was embroidery. I will stick to my cross stitches because I like cross stitches. I like stitches where I can count the stitches so I know how much I stitch. But it has been fun trying. And I will put it up on the wall because, as you might remember, my favorite flower is the crocus. Last year, if you watched this channel last year, you would know that I was completely, utterly obsessed with modern folk embroideries, a quilter's dream. And I stitched it in 24 or 25 days. Maybe you remember that. Well, I have restarted it. Not that there's anything wrong with the first one, but I just wanted to do it with the colors reversed. Because I still had the same fabric, which is Confederate Grey 18 count. And here I used, this is a cone of 321. It's not that red in reality, but it's, I think the light here is still all right, but it's not getting dark yet because we do still have these Scandinavian summer evenings where we have light until around 10 p.m. But it has been solstice, so it has begun going the other way. Anyway, I'm doing it reverse this time. I still love stitching on it, which is why I decided that I'm not allowed to stitch on it very often, because then it will just finish way too fast. Oh, sorry. That's what happens when I sit behind this one and I can't see how it looks. I'm not as obsessed with it as I was the first time, but as I said, I still love stitching it. And I think it will look absolutely amazing when I have eventually finished this one and framed it and put it up next to the other one. So this was my number 61, and I began it on February the 1st. I began this on February 16 this year. It's called St. Patrick's Day. It's by Twin Peaks, I think. It's on 25 count even weave, and it looks like this. And I did a mistake somewhere around here, but I think I want to find out, but it's a St. Patrick's, so I'm not going to stitch on it for quite some time now. I'll probably start again in January or something like that. I am going to see if I can tweak it or whatever you call it, so I don't have to frock, because all the green here is silk, and silk is very difficult to frock because apparently it breaks. I'm stitching it with some of my own silk. I'm also using Blanc and DMC Black, but all these silks I'm using are my own. I dyed these back when I was still Danish stitcher. So, and these threads are only 2-stranded, which is quite annoying, but they are very soft. And I like stitching with it a lot. And they fit absolutely perfectly on 25 count, which is why I chose 25 count. As you can see, the coverage is very good. So this was number 62. Another autumn lane stitchery. I had seen, who was it? I don't remember who, but under Flosstube, you know, one of these boxes all you people living in America can get hold of, but us in Denmark cannot, unless we want to pay a huge amount of money to the state and the post. But there I saw this one called Tonight We Ride, and I was just, oh, I want to stitch that one. And eventually I could find it, not in the Etsy shop, but actually I do prefer to buy from the designer's website, because then they don't have to pay the fees for Etsy. I only buy patterns off Etsy if that's where the only place I can get it. So this, let's see, how is it? Is on 18 count Ada, hand dyed by me. And it looks like this. And I'm very happy with the way it looks. That's one of the first times I have experimented with so many colors in one piece of fabric. So, sorry for me saying so. That's really a bad habit. Sorry about that. I might edit some of those so out because they annoy me. This one is number 63, and I began it on February 29. I don't remember if I already said that. The next one I cannot show you, nor can I tell you the name, because it's a secret stitching, a secret stitch. I will, however, show it on my Instagram and probably on my Danish Flosstube when it's done, but not before. It has about 23,000 stitches, so it does take some time to stitch. Therefore, we will move on to a Sal by Noctiflora Designs. It's called Vampurum Sal. I am getting behind on this, but I knew that would happen because of Christmas in July. We have got part 2. Let me see. Part 3, sorry. And I'm not done with part 3. I'm done with part 1 and 2. And it's on 18 count Ada, hand dyed by me. And I like it, but as I said, I am behind. I think part 4 will eventually come out in, I think, in less than a week. but that's just too bad. I will catch up. I did catch up on the Supernatural by the Witchy Stitcher. I fell behind. I fell way behind with that one. I think I was about 5 or 6 parts behind. And then when the last part came out, I finished the last part 1 week after it had come out, and then I was done with it. So it depends on where I focus, on which project I focus. And as I said so many times, I am really a moody stitcher. I only stitch on what I want to stitch on. And that's also the reasons why I do not make that many plans, because I learned that a long time ago. Do not make plans. Speaking of plans, WhipGo. I haven't mentioned WhipGo. I will put in my WhipGo board here, and as you can see, I am actually up to date. But if you look at number 18, just below the middle, you can see that my goal for April was 100,000 stitches. I did not succeed that by April. When I made this WhipGo board, I had absolutely no idea when that number would be drawn, and it was drawn already in April. But 2 weeks ago or something like that, no, 1 week ago or so, I actually crossed the 100,000 stitches, which is why I can now say, for the first time ever, I am fully up to date with my WhipGo board. Anyway, some of you might, the Vampirum Sal was number 66. Some of you might remember that I started a project from Oven, I think, called Darf ich einziehen? Can I move in? With 2 little birds. I gave up on it, and UFO'd it because no. The pattern was impossible because all the light blue was actually pink on the pattern, and it was so confusing. But just one word, onion skin. Actually, this was one of those patterns where it took me a little longer, because I always had to check with the list of the floss, what color is this? But I succeeded, and I have restarted it, and I love it. I'm doing it on light blue Ada 18 count, and I'm not sure I'm going to do all the stuff around it, but it looks like this. Aren't they just the cutest? I'm so happy that I found out about that onion skin. That means that from now on, all patterns I stitch will always be Pattern Keeper compatible. Do you remember my Thea Governor patterns which I bought? Kits I actually bought. The one of Rome and the Crocus one. I'm still trying to figure out which colors are in the Rome one. I did finish that with the Crocus one, and I did start doing that and putting that through the onion skin, but it takes a lot of time. But eventually I will get there, and then I can stitch my Thea Governor. Problem with Thea Governor is that they will not tell you the number of the colors. I did find most of the colors for Rome, but some of the colors are the same, which means I have to go through all the colors one more time. Therefore I put it on hold, and I decided now I'm just going to find out whether I can succeed with the Crocus pattern If I succeed with that so I can stitch it, then I will go on with the Rome pattern. If I do not succeed, then I'm going to put the Rome pattern kit up for sale, because then I'm not going to stitch it. No way am I going to stitch such a huge pattern with no pattern keeper. Forget it. It's not that important for me then. Let's move on to the last one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 left. And almost 2 hours. Tiny Modernist, the summer sampler. I stitched it on my probably favorite printed fabric. This one called Icy Topaz. It's on 16 count. And this color, it's absolutely beautiful. And I have done this. And I use the call for numbers, the call for DMC. Next one, Caterpillar cross stitch. Or maybe I should say that the summer sampler is number 68 and I started it on May 28. A long time ago I bought Hello Pumpkin and I knew I would have to do something about the color choice if I was ever going to stitch it, because I did not like the colors. I do not like a pink fox. And then again, the word you are probably fed up with listening to now, onion skin. So I put the pattern into WinStitch with the original colors. I still have it there with the original colors, and then I made a copy, and then I started changing the colors. So now I'm very happy to say that I have begun stitching on Hello Pumpkin, and I love it. It's on a fabric called Autumn Leaves, 16 count. And now the fox has the right colors, in my opinion. I will put up which colors I changed, because I actually only changed 4 or 5 of the colors, I don't remember. But you can see it because I put it up here. I love the way this turns out. Now it's really full of warm autumn colors. I also had a problem with the original colors because the grass looked so like blue gray, as if it was very cold, and that's for me the color of winter, and this should be an autumn pattern, which is why I wanted to change the colors. And I love the way it turns out, and I love stitching on this one, and I would continue stitching on it if it was not for my Christmas in July. On July the 2nd, day 2 of Christmas in July, I started a new pattern. Where is it? Called Santa Home. I haven't done much. I do it on 18 count, 18 or 16 count light gray Ada. It only has got 4 colors. It's by Olaf in Stitch, an Italian designer, and I just like it very, very much. I like the fact that there are only 4 colors and still It's so colorful. I'm just going to show you one that I also had to do for Christmas in July, but I finished it. It's by Tiny Modernist, and the only reason why I show you is because it's still in the bag. I'm going to make it into a little sack. So it actually looks like reindeer feet. So Santa Home is number 72. Yeah, and now I mixed up the numbers again. Never mind. I think I once told you that I got old Disney patterns. And I would really much like to stitch them, but you know the drill. Pattern keeper, blah, blah, blah. So now I finished with the first one. I mean, onion skin. And I stitched it on light blue, not light blue, navy blue Ada. I don't know the name of this guy in English or his nephews, so I'm not going to say any name, but his name in Danish is Uncle Joachim, and the name of the nephews are Rip, Rap and Rup. And this is how far I got. And it's so easy to stitch now when it's in Pattern Keeper. It's quite heavy on the back stitching, as you can see, but it's okay. I will do the back stitching as I stitch. You can see it, that I'm doing that. And this is, I think, 16 count. And that's number 70. And I had another restart. I had started this Lindner's Kreuzstich Weihnachtsmarkt. I can actually show you because I stitch on the same. It looked like this. It was not that easy to stitch because I only had the paper pattern. Well, I did put it into Pattern Keeper, but the colors, there were numbers, but no symbols, just colors instead of symbols, which made it quite hard to figure out, okay, this color is that DMC or that DMC, because some of them were very close. So this is how far I got. Then I decided to put it into Winstitch doing onion skin, and then I changed the colors completely and did a restart. So this is the first house, and this is on, hi Senior, on 20 count Ada, and I'm stitching 1/1. And now I'm really happy with it. And I have put up a photo so you can see my colors instead. I know quite a lot of people would probably prefer the original colors. No problem. I prefer the colors I chose. So lucky that I'm stitching it for me, right? We are almost there. Again for Christmas in July. This one, Catch a Falling Star. I did the stitching. I did the stitching with the DMC. Yeah, well, the metal thread is also DMC diamond. But as you can see, I did not get very far. So that will still take some time. But I had to stitch on it. This was a new start, so it didn't matter how many days I would stitch on it, as long as I stitched on it. Another one, a SodaStitch. This is actually a free pattern. This was also a new start, but as you can see, I did finish it. Now I just need to make it into, you have to finish it fully. if you join her Facebook group, you can find this pattern in her files. If it's a her, a she, I don't know. And it's Pattern Keeper compatible. And 1,000 stitches. Not much more, anyway. So that was number 73. And the snow globe you just saw, it was number 74. Which means we are almost there. Ah, I did show that. Well, one project left. Number 75. I like the Witchy Stitcher a lot. And for the last 2 years, I have been on her Patreon. In the month during June, I decided that no, I'm going to take a break from her Patreon because for the last couple of months, the pattern on Patreon had been these tarot cards. They're cute, no doubt about it. They're just not something that I want to stitch. Therefore, I decided, no, I'm going to stop being on her Patreon for a while and then I can go back. I also quit Mama Witch X-Stitch because the last couple of patterns of hers have been patterns. No, I don't want to stitch them. Instead, I have joined Tiny Modernist, as I said, and the last pattern, something with a llama, I'm not going to stitch, but there was a cat that I might stitch, probably without all the flowers. And then I also decided to join X Stitch magazine, just to support them, not by getting any patterns there, because I do get the magazine on the app readily. So anyway, on the July the 1st, I stopped being a Patreon of the Witchy Stitcher, and then she brought out the picture. No way, Meg, are you doing this to me? No way. This cannot be happening. If you know me just a little bit, you know how I love cats. You know how fascinated I am by vampires. And then she makes a vampire cat. And I told myself, easy, Esther, easy. Eventually it will be up for sale in 6 months or so, and then you can buy it. I waited a week. And then 3 days ago, I rejoined her Patreon. Well, on a lower tier, but still, so I could get the pattern. And then I was obsessed. The 2 first days I stitched on this, I stitched 3,700 stitches in 2 days. No wonder my shoulder hurt me. Which is why I have only stitched 300 stitches today, and that was on my winter sampler, not on Vampire. But let me show you how far I am. This pattern is so amazing. It's on, I think it's 16 count Ada, which I dyed myself. Isn't it gorgeous? I find it absolutely gorgeous. It's a lot of stitching, but I love it. And I might not... I have told myself that I'm not allowed to stitch on it today because then I cannot stop. That I should... Which is why, actually, the reason why I decided to do this whip parade today, so I would not sit and stitch, because my shoulder hurts me a bit. We are done. 75 whips. This is crazy. It has been fun to do a kind of Flosstube in English again. As I said, I'm not going to do it in German. I kind of missed doing Flosstube in English. I forgot to say one thing. I have one more new start I have to do in Christmas in July. It's called Arrivano I regali, the arrival of the presents in English. Well, I think I'm just going to stop for now. If you watched until here, thank you very much for watching. I hope you had a bit of fun. I hope you got a lot of stitching done. And I hope to see you again. Bye.